Hey, Dream Drivers, welcome to another episode of Dreams and Drive. Today, we're going to be talking about why you need to stop all the comparing, the comparison game. Your journey is not their journey. This is a topic that is so relevant for all of us Dream Drivers. So sit back, buckle up, and let's take a quick ride. But before we get into today's episode, please make sure that you are part of our email newsletter, The Road Trip, where every week we go on a trip down memory lane and I share some insider points, memories from my own dream driving journey in hopes that you'll be inspired and motivated and encouraged along your own. Go to dreamsanddrive.com/join to sign up. That's dreamsanddrive.com/join to sign up. All right, so today's episode is called Stop the Comparing. Your journey is not their journey. And it was actually, it's late at night as I'm recording this. Everyone's sleeping in my house. And I just felt it on my heart to talk about this topic because I just think it's so relevant. So today I went to a surprise dinner for one of my best friends. And I had a moment during dinner where everybody was eating. So a lot of my friends are my age. We're all coming to celebrate my best friend. And a lot of us have kids who are also around the same age. So we were all eating. We got our dinner plate set at the table. And I noticed every one of their kids. So think about the kids who are about 3 years old and up, 3 to 6. They were all sitting down and eating dinner. And, this was a full dinner. They had turkey, they had rice, they had mac and cheese, they had vegetables, and all the kids were just sitting and eating. And at that point, I felt so weird. These kids all had full plates. And here was my big boy, my 4.5-year-old, in a corner, and me and him were fighting over him to just try to eat a piece of pasta. He just wanted soda. He just wanted cake. He did not want to eat anything. And at that point, I just felt so embarrassed. Like, he's such this picky eater. And in my head, I just couldn't stop comparing him. I didn't say this to him out loud, but I just said to him, like, in my head, I was just like, why can't you be like those kids? Why can't you just eat your food? Why is food always a big deal with you? There was this idea of good versus bad, and my kid seemed to be the odd one out, and I didn't feel comfortable with that. I didn't like that everyone else's kids were eating and he wasn't eating. And it really just made me think about, it hit me. Why was I automatically comparing him? Do I really even know anything about these parents' journeys with their kids other than what I was seeing at the precise moment? There were so many things that could have gotten them to that point. Their kids might have been picky eaters at one point too, and they're out of that phase, and it's that Axel's in his own phase now. I just had to really tell myself that there are probably also things that these kids struggle with that my kid doesn't struggle with. And their parents may be looking at him and saying, why can't he be like him? So success is really all about perspective and point of view and what end of the table you're looking at, right? Because they could have been observing Axel all night in other ways, right? Like, to me, I know that Axel's very advanced when it comes to his speaking and his retention of new information. Like, he really is a little brain box. I call him that. And a lot of times I get parents who are come up to me and say, hey, how do you get him to do this? How did you get him to do that? And I realized, like, we all are so different. So it's really not about picking apart what makes you different, but really embracing the things that make you you. That's why it's really important to just remember your journey is not their journey. And we do this so much in our own lives, right? We want what other people have, but the big thing that a lot of us don't often talk about is, are we willing to do the work to get what they got? And I say this, right? It could be good work, right? People are going hard. Let's say someone achieves some kind of goal with their podcast, right? They got 1 million subscribers. They could have got 1 million subscribers because they bought them, right? Bad word. They could have got 1 million subscribers because they worked really, really hard and they're in a space in their life where they could, or they sacrificed something to get to where they are. But here I am just comparing them, not even knowing what really went into their journey, and also not knowing what yet is to come from my own journey. And that's the biggest thing. Your journey is your journey because you have to go on a journey. And so when you are stuck comparing yourself to other people, you are taking away from the validity and the amazingness of what your journey can become. Because right now you might just be in a valley, but that does not mean that your mountaintop isn't coming. And it's about having patience with where you are today, because where you are today does not really mean where you're going to be tomorrow. And I'm going to shift it back to this whole idea of perspective. And this might be a little bit morbid, but it's just something I've been thinking about lately. As you guys know, my father passed. But a lot of you may not know, he actually retired early. So he used to work for the New York City Department of Transportation as a facilities engineer, doing like facilities maintenance and all that stuff as an engineer. And so he had to retire early. He retired back in 2016. And, being that he died at 67, he retired 8 years ago, I think about all that he was able to do in those 8 years, although he was still hustling and doing like side projects, how Jamaican people do. Um, he had to, at least for the last 8 years of his life, not have to worry about going to work and driving into the city. And one of the biggest things that I'm happy that he got to retire early is when I did have my son, he was able to really have such a strong relationship and help care for him for the first 3 years of his life. Whereas I don't know if he would have been able to do that if he was still working full time. I don't want to make this about me, but I'm just talking to you guys about perspective, right? Sometimes you think bad things happen. So for him, he could have been like, dang, I didn't want to have to retire early because it was a kind of a forced retirement. But in the long run, in the grander scheme of things, that allowed him to really have retirement and enjoy and have his own schedule and do things the way that he wanted to do. And look, he died early, right? Like, you don't really know what's gonna happen. So why spend your life comparing and being caught up in all these what ifs? Why not me? No, focus on where you are now and make the most of it. Because you don't know what's gonna change and you don't know why you may be going through something at the moment, or you don't know what the lessons you're going through right now, what they're preparing you for later. Imagine a place where you can unwind and relax. IKEA can help turn your bedroom into a calm oasis. From comfy mattresses to the perfect lights, we've got everything to create your dream bedroom so you can sleep like a baby. And the best part, all at incredible prices. Head to IKEA and grab everything you need. Get ready to rest, dream, and wake up feeling refreshed. Shop today at your local store or at ikea-usa.com/sleep-es. And get it delivered straight to your door with our convenient delivery services. Hey, Dream Drivers. So there's this new podcast from Audible I'm really excited about, Self-Conscious with Chrissy Teigen. It's a safe space to embrace the twists and turns of personal growth, one conversation at a time. No judgments, just the real about what this all means and great conversations along the way. I really love that Chrissy's personality is so down to earth and how she's putting a spotlight on the ups and downs of what it means to be figuring this thing called life out. You can hear from Chrissy weekly as she talks to her guests about life-changing ideas and concepts and sharing practical tools for everyday life. I'm talking inspiring dope guests like Mel Robbins, Nidra Glover Tawwab, Adam Grant, and Gabby Bernstein. And we're all on this road to bettering ourselves, so this podcast needs to be on your must-listen list. There's something here for everyone, no matter what stage of the journey you're on, and some of the tools the guests share are just what I need with where I am with figuring out this new stage of life that I'm in. Self-Conscious with Chrissy Teigen, the new wellness podcast from Audible. Expand your self-awareness, gain valuable insights, and become more self-conscious. New episodes drop each week. Go to audible.com/Chrissy Podcast or wherever you get your podcasts and start listening today.
The Quarter Pounder with Cheese had many great things. Maple-flavored griddle cakes isn't one of them. McDonald's breakfast comes first. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
You really want to focus on figuring out what's in front of you and the beauty and all the growth that can come from it. So even in my own life, right? One of the things that I'm working on is social media, Instagram, TikTok. Sometimes I get on there and I see all these people with these big followers and I'm just like, yo, I've been on here since 2013. Why am I still stuck at this amount, right? There's so many different variables that can go into that. But the thing that I've been telling myself is, all right, let's say Joe has 50 billion followers. That doesn't always mean that Joe's doing so well. You could have a lot of followers but have no money in the bank. And for me, financial security is utmost priority now, especially being a mother, having children. So when I see these people online who just seem like they're doing so well for themselves, I have to also say, you don't know what their bank account's looking like. And to me, I'd rather have a strong bank account than have 50 million followers because likes don't pay the bills. Likes don't make sure your kids are taken care of. Likes don't make sure that you're able to afford a house and all this other stuff. Like, that's the stuff that's important to me. So knowing what your values are going to help you when you start going down this comparison game. You have to nip it in the bud. And you have to have the confidence that who you are and the journey that you're on is so uniquely built for you that it's going to turn out all right. I remember when I first had my kid and, was going through some things, I was just nervous about like what's yet to come. I didn't have a full-time job yet. This was during the pandemic. And my aunt sat me down and she said, baby, it's going to be all right. You got to just be positive. And I know that could be toxic positivity sometimes, but you do have to, at some point, really speak life into what you want for yourself and then start doing the work. Tunnel vision, you need to know what's going on around you, but you got to be focused on who you are and where you're going because you can't ride in someone else's car because you don't know how that car is supposed to be driven. A lot of other times I might see people further along than me in their podcast career and they started after me. But the thing I have to say to myself, are they happy? What did they sacrifice? Who did they have helping them to get there? There's so many things you do not know about someone else's journey. Another example is seeing moms. It's very real. You go on social media, you just see people who are mothers like you, might have more kids than you, and you're just like, how are they doing it all? But you don't know what's going on behind the curtains. You don't know how much sacrifice they have. You don't know, not sacrifice, how much support they have. You don't know if they're struggling, really. You just see what they want you to see. What if every day it's hard for them to get up because they have so much guilt or they're going through postpartum? You don't know. So when you stop the comparing, you're stopping yourself from going down a spiral of questions that you really may never know the answer to. And is that worth it? It's probably not. So here's some quick actionable things I want you guys to take away from this episode as you go on this week, as you're dream driving, as you're seeing other people doing things, you see yourself like, what about me? Here, let's remember these things. Instead of comparing, think of key learnings from whatever it is you're drawn to. So for me at that dinner table tonight, when I saw those parents with their kids and they were eating, I started to just, instead of saying, why isn't my son doing that? I just took a step back and observed. What was it that was really exciting these kids? And it's funny because at one point, one of the other boys came over to Axel, had a piece of pasta and was trying to feed it to him. And Axel actually ate the pasta from him, but wouldn't eat it from me. So it's just little things like that. Like, okay, maybe my son wants some communal aspect to his eating. Maybe he didn't like the pressure I was putting on him in front of other people. These parents were loading their kids' plates regularly. Like, there so many things for me to learn instead of compare. And it's a mindset shift, but it's one that I'm telling you will really help. And always think about the positive. I think we get hard on ourselves when we're starting to compare to other people, but think about all the good that you are doing. So when you see yourself like, oh, I don't have this many followers, I don't have this. Like when I see people who have like 10 million, kajillion podcast followers, I say to myself, but you know what? I still have a podcast agency that works with me and gives me brand deals. You guys will hear at least two to three ads in this podcast episode. And that's because of relationships I've built. So there are outstanding things about you too. Remember that. There are outstanding things about you too. And this is the biggest thing. We all need reminders. And it's so important that as you're building anything or just anything, growth, track that success of yours, track that growth. I love to just look back at my kids and remember they used to be babies and there were things they weren't able to do. Axel wasn't always such an eloquent speaker. He used to baby talk. That's growth, and you have to remember where you came from and look at where you are now. And I bet you there are things that you can learn from just doing that. And turn those comparisons, those desires to compare into affirmations, right? What you want to happen. And I'll use it with the example of my son again, like him being a very picky eater. He had this new thing where he really liked seaweed from Trader Joe's, little seaweed snacks. He was not someone who ever really got into it before. And so today, when he ate it, he went into the snack drawer, took out the seaweed and started eating it. I said, "Wow, Axel, you really like trying new things." And I could have flipped that situation in so many ways, but I focused it in on him and giving him a voice in his head to respond to, "Wow, Axel, you really like trying new things." And I hope that next time he remembers that voice whenever he's scared to try something new and he gets that confidence. And if you remember in my last episode, we talked about the things that I learned as a kid and the things I want to pass on to my own children, is that inner confidence. And it starts from that. So hopefully these tips are something that can help you. They helped me. And this just practical advice that we're all going through. Comparison is hard. Comparing yourself to others is going to be hard. But I remember I got this book when I was in kindergarten. I don't know why I remember the name of the book, but it was called I Like Me. And when we really start thinking about what we like about ourselves and what makes us so uniquely special, comparing ourselves to others is a waste of time. What does that really do? I mean, of course, you need to understand the lay of the land and what's going on, but just think about that. Why compare yourself to others when you could build yourself up and use that energy for something so much greater? I truly hope that you guys enjoyed this episode. Remember, please make sure you're following us on social media. You can find us at Dreams and Drive across the board on all social media platforms. And also make sure that you signed up for the road trip, which is my weekly newsletter where I take you down a trip down memory lane. And I'm going to be sharing different lessons and insights and tidbits from my own personal dream driving journey, my own life, hoping that they inspire and encourage you along your own journeys as well. As always, guys, keep dreaming, keep driving, and we'll chat again in the next episode. Bye.